You just chill until you ready to start.
Yeah.
Let's see the
I saw Denzel Washington on TV the other day. He's a real good looking man. But I remember when me, him, and Wesley Snipes was young back in the 80s. They still got some of their money. I look good. I ain't got nothing. But I look good. It's a good
Hey, Deborah, hey, Sinead. Yes, sit up, and so you can,
Yes.
you know, let them know that you're ready.
Ready to have a conversation.
So we do not, hey, Deborah. So, of course, Facebook, we do not own the copy to this song. So, you know, don't, hey, Desiree, don't turn us off. But we want to play God's Plan because, you know, we got some big things. Hey, Nicole. Hey, Chauncey.
How y'all doing?
So we just kind of like, you know, setting the mood up. Because this is definitely God's plan for Mr. Terrence Davis to sit down with me today on the People of Power show. So we just kind of, you know, there's a connection that goes and comes. Shout out to Facebook.
We have fun with it.
Okay. That's it. So we can we can turn it down. Yep. Hey Tony. Hey. So for the people that are joining us, welcome to the People of Power show. I am your host and creator, Kitty London, and I am sitting next to Mr. Terrence Davis, aka TD.
How you doing?
How you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
First of all, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for sitting down with me because I know with everything that's going on right now, you probably gotten asked to sit down with people and you
absolutely
have declined. So for you to sit down with me today, I just want to say I want to thank you.
You're the first person I agreed to sit down and talk with.
So we're going to set this mood. So first of all, I just want to let my viewers know, hey Dexter, that you know, we're going to be answering some questions, some things that we can answer, some things we can't answer. I want to make sure that Mr. Davis feels comfortable because the thing about it is, like, I'm in his house today, so look, he can kick me out. So we want to play nice.
That won't happen. That won't happen. I'm very grateful to have you. Thank you for what you're doing.
We want to play nice today. And you know, I don't want anyone to make him defensive because, you know, I think when it comes to getting to know people, I think you should let them speak, and you know, we're gonna get your side of the story. Absolutely. Whatever you can talk about, and like I said, I want you to feel comfortable at the end of the day.
Got nothing to hold back.
Okay. I just, like I said, you know, we're gonna respect this house, and the key word is respect. We are all adults here. So first, let's rewind. When you were, where were you brought up? Where?
Well, just I'll tell you a little something about myself. I was born and raised right on the corner of West Avenue, Blue Hand, in some apartments.
Riviera Beach, born and raised. Okay.
Born and raised. My father's Cedric Davis, my mother's Pamela. My father was raised here as well. He came up in the system, a city Riviera Beach employee. He was a garbage man.
Okay.
My mom was a banker. They were young teenage parents. You know, they raised some young men, and they always took her places and gave us an opportunity to see a vision. Coming up as a young man, I always had this dream of being an attorney. You know,
really? Oh.
Yes, I love.
So you
music.
like to argue?
Well,
because attorneys usually have a gift for gab.
Well, one of the things I want to do, I always want to be a civil rights attorney.
Okay.
Okay. I've always wanted to find a way to do some service. Right?
Okay.
If you're having fun, you're really not working.
That's true.
My brother always wanted to be an architect. My youngest brother, which is Tony. I mean, he's doing that
today.
Tony. Yes, he's somewhere in California doing what he loves so much.
Okay.
I went to Palm Beach Gardens High School after coming up through Washington Elementary, John F. Kennedy Middle School. Played football, ran track, was very active in school at the time.
Okay.
At the time, Waste Management at the time had got the contract back in January 1995. 44 men lost their job. My father was one of them.
Wow. Okay.
So our whole family went through something, a real traumatic experience at the time.
Yeah, getting laid off is not
right,
easy.
because, you know, we had this plan, okay, I was going to go to school, I was going to be the first in the family to go to school at that time. But when that shift happened, you know, I had to step down and really take on another job to make sure that my mother and father, who helped me out and my brothers out, had an extra income to fill that void.
Okay.
So I worked at the time, I worked at Barnett Bank, and I worked at Office Depot at the time. And I took on the third job as Crowder Center doing valet parking. And I was helping pay the mortgage, and I made that sacrifice, and I would do it all over again. And at that time, I had one of my teachers, over the course of some years, his name was Jason Cresson. And he stopped by one of my jobs one day and was asking me, well, hey, why aren't you in college? And I said, well, I told him the story, so I understand. He then later came back and invited me to this NFL aired-out flag football game at Jacksonville Jaguars. And to tell you a little story about how I kind of launched away from River Beach, it took someone from Palm Beach Gardens to ask the question, hey, won't you travel with me on this road trip? And at the time, it was a gentleman by the name of John Gordon, who's also a River Beach young guy, and 3 college students. One was an art teacher, one was an attorney, and the other was an insurance guy. And we went, played this tournament, and we won. And he said, dude, you ever thought about going to college? I said, well, the opportunity presents itself. But right now, I think to step and help my family out. And I never forget, a few months later, I was asleep. I woke up one morning watching Chris Berman. I heard in my dream, like while I was sleeping, I woke up. It said, from River Beach, game-winning touchdown, John Gordon. And that was in 1996. And I never forget it. So I watched ESPN all over again to see was that real, because I thought I was asleep. And yes, it was. It was the same young man in the car with me who was playing for the University of Kansas, Labor Day weekend, and went to game-winning touchdown. And so then I called the same guy. I said, listen, I'm ready to go to school now. He said, would you be ready? They put some fire under you. They put some fire. So I waited 6 months, saved my money, helped my folks make sure they had their money, and I went up to California to San Bernardino Valley College. I also took my youngest brother with me. I ran track and played football. While I was out in California, some of the services I did a lot of game prevention. A lot of my teammates were gang members. And I would always talk about trying to bridge that gap between the two, because we have Bloods and Crips in the locker room. Because what happened on the football field was one thing, but sometimes it spilled over to our practices. It got crazy sometimes with a lot of the freshmen coming in. The mature guys who were there over some time, it was an easy transition for them. And so that was something I kind of did in my free time. Once I finished, got my AA degree, I went to Florida A&M University. I wanted to be closer to home, then my grandparents, then my family.
So you have that I see that loyalty spirit.
Yes. Family is everything to me. That's everything. River Beach is my family. I had no aspirations to run for office. My goal was to get my degree at FAMU in health education. I did a dual degree with community psychology with the understanding that I would go back and get my master's in forensics. I came back home, started teaching. Taught school, Jensen Beach, was coaching track, and doing some things in the community through JAM, which is Jesus My Motivator, St. James Missionary Baptist Church, right here, which under leadership under Dr. Tony F. Drayton. We also started a mentor program called Young Men in Leadership. And that was over some time we started that, and it was all about, there was a lot of shootings going on at the time in 2003, 2005. And he said, how can we get more involved as a church? I said, whatever you want to do, Pastor, I'm with you. So at the time, Pastor Drayton partnered with Chief Williams and many others in the community to bring resources to all the young men on S Avenue, T Avenue, Silver Beach Road, R.J. Henley, OAB, all those areas are refocused, and we concentrated on a group effort of going after those young men in that community. Because of that organization, we got one young man by the name of Frederick Fairweather, who's graduated from Emory-Riddle College, wants to be a pilot. He's from Revere Beach. Because of that program, we have 2 of our young men out in the military. We have one now that's in the program now, Explorer program at Revere Beach, to become a police officer. We have another young man who's looking to be a congressman, another one who's looking to be a doctor, and another one's an engineer. But they're all juniors and sophomores now. But the program's been very successful. I'm now coaching track at Suncoast High School. Been doing it for about 7 years now. Been in for a lot of fun, a lot of giving back. In 2013, decided to run for office and really do something significant. It wasn't my decision at the time. I was watching, seeing what was happening in the community. So I sat back and learned and kept giving back. And when I made the decision to run, with the push of people like Rodney Roberts, who was running, Cedar Thomas was running, so I was kind of just watching my peers doing what they're supposed to do, whether you like what they're doing or not. At least they had the courage to actually put their names out there.
Initiative,
and do it. So I only can respect that. Reverend Leroy Parrish was the one that said, hey, well, you need to be running for office, and we fought about it from 2009 to 2012. I say, I'm not a person that speaks politically correct. I'm going to tell you how I feel, and it's going to come from some research, right, which requires some reading and understanding, right? I love this city dearly, and I love these children. I love them in a way that when I was young, the only elected official that I can recall that really came out a lot was Mayor Claire Williams. And she would always come to all the elementary schools. If you didn't know anything, she always showed up. And that meant a lot to me, and I wanted to make sure that I do that. So because of that, you would see me in daycares, Atkins, after school program on MLK. You see me all the different Jay's Ministry, reading the kids maybe once a month.
Okay.
I would pop up at JFK Middle School, Lincoln Elementary, West Riviera, just saying hello to kids, walking in the cafeteria, just volunteering my time for cafeteria duty. You can get a chance to just tell your story to the kids because they want to ask you what you're doing there. And over the time, I was able to develop a relationship. Okay. And it's been fun, you know.
I think being in politics is kind of like ministry is a calling. I think it's not what they say about many are called, very few are chosen. And
it's something that, I will say that because you have to submit yourself to people, whether you're wrong or right.
Right.
You know, you have to be willing to listen, whether you're wrong or right, whether they're wrong or right. And when you give yourself, your family and your closest friends, your family suffer more, but they don't get the time that they normally would get. You know, I spend a lot of time with my grandparents. They're elderly now. They're up in age, but I really enjoy these days. The most proud moment I ever had being elected was the fact that my grandparents can watch me be sworn in.
And they see you get beat up too.
Yeah, it's they see it, and before the meetings, I always take that wins. That's the day I go by and spend with them. Okay. To really settle things down, because it's only been this year where the beating up kind of started. You know, and I can understand it. You know, the only thing I just ask folks to do, and I've always said is, you know, how do we learn from the process? One of the things I always talked about in the meetings, like if I make a decision, right or wrong, you know, my office, you know, here's my number, 707-5906. Let's get it out like we're doing right now.
707. Why he giving out his number, everybody? He's giving out his number. They probably writing it down.
561-707-5906. Just like you gave me a call, we sit down, we talk about the issues. I give you some of the background information because when you're in a business meeting, it's time to conduct business. You don't want to get into a lot of discussions about a lot of things because when you get into heavy discussions, that really shows bad preparation. Because if you're asking a million questions in a meeting, those are questions that you're supposed to ask before you get to the meeting. Correct. So you have to come to the meetings prepared. One of the things I learned that through EMO is called Beginning Elected Officials Training. I signed up for within the first 3 weeks I was elected. So I finished EMO, which is New Beginning Elected Officials, and I did 2, and I'm getting ready to take an advanced leadership, and I should be done with that academy through the Florida League of Cities. And it's been fun. You know, with all that goes on, it's been fun because you can see that if you can make one decision to change a group of people's lives, whether they know it or not, it's good to see that you did something to help somebody.
Right, that's true. And I wanted to, you know, for people who are just joining us, I'm sitting down with Terrence Davis, aka TD, Riviera Beach City Councilman. So if you do have questions, we can answer some questions. But I wanted to sit down with him 2 reasons. One, because, you know, I wanted to see a different side of you because I know sometimes, you know, the disclaimer, I'm not from Riviera. I don't live in Riviera. I can't vote for him. I can't tell you to vote. I'm in West Palm Beach. So I just want to let people know because sometimes people tend to think that, this is right. Yeah, right. So I'm in West Palm Beach, but I do look at the meetings and I do look at, and it's kind of like when you see it, you're like, wow, why is this guy so hated? And it's like you're one of two. Either you're a superhero to one half, or you're a villain to the other half.
Well, it's, you know, when you hear one side of the story so long, it becomes believable.
That's correct.
Right? If you hear someone, I don't have millions of dollars to control press. Don't have it.
Right.
But I do have an office where you can get countless hours to ask your questions, ask those questions. And I always tell folks, why Riviera Beach? Right? You know, why Riviera Beach? You think about, and we talked about this earlier, you think about Carroll City, the history of Carroll City, Miami Carroll City. But it's now called Miami Gardens, where it's being represented as Miami Gardens. Right. And it's happening right up under their nose. Folks want the same thing to happen in this community. Like I stated earlier, when my father and many other fathers and mothers lost their jobs, I made sure that no one else would lose their job. You know, back in June 24th, June 28th, we had a workshop under the leadership of the gentleman who no longer with us. And there was a discussion about, you know, eliminating all these jobs. And I'm sitting there like, wow, okay, so let me hear you out. So I'm waiting to hear him say, hey, this is why. Here's the background information. and this is why it's so critical. I was willing to listen to it if it came out, but that never took place. And so at the time, I said, well, me and others said, hey, this is not going to happen. And we got into he discussed for 15 minutes, said, don't bring it back, we're done with it. 4 days later, it came back on the agenda. And I'm sitting like, wow, we just told you we're not in a position, based upon the information that you've given us, with no background, where we even consider a limiting job. Because in Riviera Beach, we're 89% black, whether you like it or not. And when you put Riviera Beach on your resume and you go apply for jobs in other cities, seldom do you ever get a real interview, to be honest with folks, if you want to be honest about Palm Beach County. So if I can protect these jobs for young women and children that's coming up through high school, they got a chance, at least in their hometown. And that really, I have to protect that. You have to protect. You think about, when you had your parents, they made decisions and you didn't understand why they didn't let you go on this trip or that trip, but it was saving money to pay a bill, but you didn't know that, right?
So I think, basically you kind of had reasonings and you pretty much were trying to protect people from losing their jobs.
Those are ultimate reasons.
Right, ultimate reasons.
I can tell you today.
Now do you think people knew that, like, prior to everything that happened?
No, they didn't know it.
Okay.
Now, let me tell you a funny thing about it. There were folks who was yelling and screaming who I had meetings with prior to the meeting. And I explained to them that, and I explained to them wherever my position was and how you felt about it.
Right.
And they agreed. They agreed. And the mayor was one of them. He agreed. He said, there's no way I can. He said, well, we got to do something right away. I said, I'm not going to do it just to do it. Right? So over time, there's other decisions being made. And the decision that really pushed me over the hump was, previously we all understood we had a water report thing that was going on, right? That happened before him, and that's understood. We made it very clear to him that we must hire a utility director that's qualified so we can get someone to drive this plane, because right now it's on autopilot. Your drinking and your bath water is on the line. He said, no problem. We sat on the committee, we made a decision. The offer was supposed to go to a gentleman out of Ocala, Florida. The gentleman said he was accepting off, so they started negotiating him and the city manager. 1 month went by, 2 months went, 2 months went by. I said, excuse me. I'm reaching the board. I said, when are you going to bring the offer before us? I'm still working on it. The guy got so tired of waiting that he turned the offer down. He said, you guys don't know what you... I said, well, you guys, this board didn't know that it was being held up.
Right.
So I called a special meeting to discuss this issue. Someone in the community, a group, maybe 1 or 2 people, took it to the community. I'm trying to fire the city manager. I called a special meeting to ask the questions, what's going on with our water, and when we're going to get somebody to protect it. Yes, this happened before him, but you took this job knowing that this is when our critical area, and that's the first hire. But for 3 months, you had someone that you supposed to negotiate a contract with so we can approve. That didn't happen. So we had a special meeting, we addressed the issue, bring us someone back, no problem. So we gave him a month to work let's give him a little more time, because we know you're busy. 2 more months went by, nothing happened. On September, I asked the question, why haven't you brought somebody to this executive board to accept so we can get someone to protect our water? He said, I don't know. I said, I can't tell my people in that meeting, in my community, that's unacceptable. But because it's a utility district meeting, it's separate from a council meeting. So the folks didn't tell folks that in that meeting there what happened, and I gave the reason, and the news neglected to report that. So when it went down in that meeting, we should have closed the meeting. I said, before we leave, I would like for Mr. Perry, Troy Perry, since he refused to hire someone, to bring us someone to make an offer. It took him 5 days, and we got Mr. Willie Horton. And that's how we got the wonderful utility qualified director. It took him 3 days what he neglected to do in 4 months. And so when we got to the next meeting, I said, misfeasance is when you tell someone, when the board gives you a directive, and you refuse to do your job. And I said that on record. But the news lady told the public that Councilman Davis never gave a reason. Now, the question I asked her, ma'am, you're welcome to be in the city. but please report the information. So I gave her a little conversation, and she took it a different direction and never gave the information that I gave her. So that's why I stopped speaking to her, and that was the point for me, and I was done. I said, people can get upset, but our water is critical. It's done. And now we got things rolling. We got new jobs coming up. We're talking about having a new water plant in the near future, which is going to create jobs for our younger people to come along, because now things are done differently. And those are some of the things we talking about in our capital budget for next year. A new water plant will cost the city about $90 to $100 million. Right? So think about all the construction jobs that come out of that.
Yeah.
And after those jobs, all the different water training things we can do, like Youth Empowerment Center, so we can start training our kids, our next generation, on how you can get a job out of high school making $26 an hour. I don't know about you.
That's some good money.
Yeah, it's good money for someone who's staying home with family. You don't have no bills. You know, there's folks that have bills and have family, they don't make that kind of money.
That's true.
So how can we not push to make sure this opportunity happens right away?
Now, you have a viewer that's asking, have you ever stated this publicly before now? She asked you that before the
before I explain. Okay.
Yeah. So no.
No.
So I'm sure they're going to ask why, but and I don't know how.
I gave the specifics to the reporter.
Right.
About the misfeasance and explained it to her, and she refused to report it. So I got it. I'm like, why I'm talking to you and you won't tell the people the truth?
Right, and about the jobs, the elimination of the jobs. I think that was because that was kind of left out a
little bit. But the reason we paused at the time was he hired a lawyer. So when he hired a lawyer, I said, okay, cool. I said, Mr. Attorney, are we supposed to talk? He said, no, be quiet. He said, when his lawyer finished doing what they're doing, then I will allow you to speak. So his line of defense is that we was preventing him from getting another job. No, you have a job. City managers get hired and fired every. We look at Delray Beach, Jupiter, Palm Beach Gardens, South Palm Beach, all cities that fired city managers within the same time frame we did. None of them got the news we did. One of them, China Palm Beach, South Palm Beach, escorted their city manager out with a police officer. And they didn't. But they want to see it in turmoil. But why Riviera Beach, though? And that's the question.
We need to change the turmoil to turnaround, city and turnaround.
We listen, we're doing great. We got $10 million of capital improvements going on the south side, on the mainland. When I mean capital improvements, we got a road, we got sidewalks, we got a community center on that side for our senior citizens that can't make it to the other side of town, that they can use on the south side. We got a robotics program that's going in there. Our local contractor is building the project. He and she that family's making significant money. They're hiring subs from Riviera Beach. Those are the stories that we must celebrate. Those projects were all held up. They should have been started on two years ago. But when he got here, he shut every project down, including the new library.
You got Kai Daniels. Hey, Kitty. Hey, Kai. It says, Terrence, what do you think about the report that Riviera Beach is ranked 30 among the most dangerous?
We're going to get back. I think another young lady had a question. I want to make sure I don't want to miss out on that. But Ms. Daniels, that report didn't have a valid source, unfortunately. And I saw that on Channel 5. It's the same news people who control the Palm Beach Post. They're all under the same auspice in government, leadership. The report from the FDLE, which is legit, talks about Riviera Beach has one of the lowest, have one of the highest reductions in violent crime in the country. They didn't state that. Matter of fact, Riviera Beach trained all their officers to do extreme weather through our tactical force.
And all this stuff that you're saying is researchable.
It's researchable. Oh,
okay,
yeah.
just want to know.
It's on federal websites.
Okay.
Boynton Beach has been recruiting from here. The school district has been recruiting from here. The sheriff department has been recruiting from us. West Palm Beach has been recruiting for us. Our officers, our men and women, and our public safety department are top-notch trained under our leadership. When you walk down the street in Riviera Beach, you don't see folks getting knocked upside the head. You don't see folks getting right. You don't see officers shooting people. You know, you see folks pulling aside with having a discussion. But one thing I can tell you about us, I feel safe when I ride my streets. Now, we're not perfect.
Well, no,
we're not perfect by far. But the information that they projected on the news had no source to it. It's just like when they projected the story about the Riviera Beach and the FBI. But if you actually read the article versus the headline, the source of the article was the previous city manager. Then when they interviewed him, He said, I heard about it. It was a rumor. So you ran, and then they interviewed the FBI. They said, Riverhead Beach is not under an investigation. No comment. That's all we're going to say. And that's in the article. But the Post decided to take a big paintbrush and say, Riverhead Beach under FBI investigation. But even the FBI wouldn't even confirm the story when you read the actual article. And it's there, you know. But you got to understand, this waterfront is worth billions of dollars. With the last piece of property on this side of the Mississippi River, the coastline of all of America, that's controlled by minority, specifically blacks, the majority board of economic billions of dollars development that has yet to be untapped. And if you don't think folks want to get their hands on it and make that money, it's something you should research. I mean,
well, research is research. Yeah. So Desiree, if you're still there, you know,
Desiree had a question.
Give thumbs up. You want to make sure he answered your question correctly. Kai V answered your question correctly. You know, give us some thumbs up. Yeah, Desiree wants to know about, you know, basically, did you state the stuff that was publicly? Did you let the public know?
Okay. Well,
I think
in the previous meeting in the utility district, there was a heated discussion of the day that the city manager was fired. Right. Okay. Then we got to the next meeting because we had to adjourn one meeting to go to another one because he's not an employee of the district, but he supervises the district. In that meeting, I just wanted to conduct business as usual. I didn't want to fire him in the middle of the meeting because we couldn't have the rest of the meeting. I said, listen, based upon the information that happened in the previous meeting, and when I just defined Mrs. Feaster, then I stated on record what he did not do. And it never got reported.
No, because
it never got reported, and so at that point I said, "No, why should I talk to the press?"
Everybody from the,
right, and so some folks, you know, you want me to give it to you? No, I give it to you, blood raw.
Well,
is it okay?
We need if you would listen.
Okay, I'm gonna give it to you, blood raw. The mayor, Masters, went and ran to the community and ran to the press, and stated that they fired this man for no reason. They give him a reason, and the mayor was running these people in and out of City Hall, keeping all this chaos going. And I was really disappointed that that happened. Because if it's about the city, and I'm looking like, you the same person that told me to fire him. But I didn't fire him because he said so. That was back in June when the mayor asked me to fire him. I thought I can work through these issues because the board makes the decision. But when that water came up, that was enough for me. Because I bathed in that water. My parents, I'm sure you have friends and family.
Yeah, friends
folks
and family
online right now, I'm sure that they bathe, they cook with that water. And that water, believe it or not, prior to the incident.
Please do get candid. Okay.
Yeah, and believe it or not, our water prior to the stuff that had happened has been some of the safest water in Palm Beach County.
Is that the one with the bleach in it or something? They were saying there was bleach in it or whatever. See, I'm not from Rivera. I'm going by the rumors.
No, you own it.
Okay, okay.
Our water has been treated with ammonia gas, right?
Okay.
That's extremely dangerous. But the trends now are going to liquid bleach. Okay. Right? That's the trend because it's more safer, it's easier, it's easier to cure, it's easier to treat, it's easier to keep all the oxygen, all the proper levels up. I'm not a scientist, but from reading the report from the Florida Water Report, and Michael Brown did one for us, that was what was recommended by the FDA for the Department of Environment. Okay. Yeah. So when they recommended that, we're now, matter of fact, we was in Tallahassee, me, Don Pardo, Lynn Hubbard, and Tanya Davis Johnson, and we went and got over $500,000 to change our disinfection system. Because right now, if you look where we are to the railroad tracks, if somehow a train was derailed and hit that liquid ammonia, it would create a whole other issue in the city. Right. So that's why it's so important that we get a utility director in place so we can get this whole transition done, because you can't do it as a director. Correct. And that happened. What happened in Detroit, up in Michigan, Flint, that didn't happen overnight. Leadership fell over and over and over again, and folks was quiet about it. Everyone's afraid to make a tough decision. And folks died and still dying because of it.
Okay, Heather. Thank you. Okay, thanks for the platform.
I'll make sure that Desiree's coming.
What is your opinion on the media classifying issues in the city day after day, city in turmoil? How will you ensure? Okay, how will you ensure when this is over? Okay, that the change of people's mindset to a more positive and hopeful future for our city.
I think that's an excellent question.
Yes, it is.
One of the things I challenge the news reporter, I don't use a name. I'm not going to give them no free press. I gave her a list of great things, and we can talk about some of those things today. I said, here's some of the things that took place over the course of the last 2 years in Riviera Beach. And I asked you, they probably see me blog it out. I said, why aren't you telling these stories? I said, matter of fact, in one of our council meetings, we awarded Principal Evans of Washington Elementary, who was awarded #1 elementary school principal of the year of all of Palm Beach County. And she was sitting in that room and didn't even take this story. I'm like, wow, you can't say you wasn't there because that wasn't important to her. So then I gave her information about the new library. I talked about the marina development. I'm talking about stuff now on the east side. We've done a lot on the west, on the east side, but on the west side, I talked about the road improvements. I talked about the water, how we addressing that issue. I talked about the new library. They maybe have retail space inside with like a Dunkin' Donuts, and Starbucks, and
I heard about the buses that you're trying to get people to see from the other ways that you're trying to bring back to Riviera.
So one of the initiatives that was under my leadership that was stopped under the previous city manager was I was going to take 3 bus loads of people who want to go, and anyone here, I make sure you get information through this wonderful young lady. We're just going to go to different areas across South Florida. They do all their new economic development. Got Miami.
And I wasn't even from Riviera. I was like, I want to get on the bus too.
Hollywood. We can go down to Fort Lauderdale Beach. All the economic development that's going on. Hollandale just got $1.5 billion economic development in their city. That was one of the cities we wanted to go see what they were doing with their mixed use. Because right now, if you look at our Cedar Hall, it's 1973, 74. It's old. So could you imagine a Cedar Hall that has a library that's 4 stories, that has a digital museum component, which is something I'm working on getting funding for, so you can change daily. You know, the 3D component. Our kids in these schools can be in that library every day. You can take your child, your nieces and nephews, and you can stay to 10 o'clock at night, eat a healthy meal, to create the jobs, and have an experience to where when you go home, you sleep. Because right now, between the hours of 5 and 8 o'clock at night, what does a young person do if they're not participating in sports? That library should be our training center that talks about marina development. It talks about one of the jobs we're working on. I want to do a crane school. Bow Crane is right here in our backyard. Bow Crane is worth over $2 billion. The average job of crane operator starts for about $50 an hour. So they're interested in building a school right here in Riviera Beach. These are the stories that I want to talk about of getting our young men off the street and young women, because folks that sell drugs and stuff, they're not just men. Young women do it too. But I want to take that hustle and show them how to really flip that money with doing cranes. Because if you do $50 an hour this one day, that's what, $400 in one day before overtime.
So how do you think that you change the perception? Because from what I'm hearing, and like again, I'm not from Riviera. This is not anything that I'm getting anything from, and I'm kind of playing devil's advocate because I know people want to know certain things, and I'm respecting you. Do you think that people would have probably been a little more responsible, a better response if they probably known some of the things that you're saying? Right,
and that was the frustrating part, right? Okay. Because I'm like, man, I told the lady the story, and she didn't tell it. She told the total opposite. So I'm like, who do I go talk to publicly? And then when he hired his attorney, then our attorney said, no, listen.
So you got a gag, pretty much almost got a gag order.
Yeah, because it's just like when you watch Cops, right? Or First 48. When somebody lawyer up, ain't nothing you really can do, right? And that's when he got quiet, so I got quiet. You know, so he didn't say nothing. When I did say something, he never came back and rebutted what I said the night of the question.
Right, because it kind of seems like, you know, from the public side, you were the bad guy. You kind of led the pack to have someone innocent.
Everybody cannot make
fired.
Listen, I'm the only man that's from Riviera Beach, born and raised on that board, that wasn't afraid to make a decision. Right. I wasn't afraid.
But you sound like you had some reasonings.
Couldn't do it.
But I think what happened is the public didn't know. And unfortunately,
they didn't want the public to know.
Right. But unfortunately,
because if she did, she would have told the story when I gave it to her. Right? And that's why I stopped talking to him. Like, well, we want to know. And listen, when he hired as a lawyer, that shut everything. And then we had the lawsuit about public records and all this. So I gave them the minutes of the meeting, what I stated, and the judge said, "Okay, case dismissed. Mr. Davis was right." And because the judge read the minutes and said, "Oh, it makes sense." And it's my understanding now, the lawyer, you don't kick his lawyer to the curb. Because the lawyer can't give him what he wants, because the lawyer says your contract was clear. You get your 20 weeks, take your money and go. Davis did not violate any rule at all.
So we need now the public, because it's like, hey, Desiree, hey, facts, okay, hey. So yeah, I think I guess Desiree, I said so many things, so hopefully, but
Let's
I think
go back.
I think that's what it
I want to make
was.
sure I catch all her questions.
She said you did answer her
I
question.
did, Ms. Lillian? Okay.
And like I said, I think it was the
But the
thing
one
that
piece I think I left off is I want to be very clear on. She did ask, how do we change the image?
yeah, I think that was
Yes, right, Desiree? And so,
Heather. Yeah, I think
yeah,
that-
so the change of the image will
Sorry.
take, as we do great things in the city, we need folks to tell our story. So we're going to hire a PR person. We're going to put that on the street, a firm that will actually go in the press and fight with them to get, hey, this is our story. We need to tell it. Someone that can sit down with Channel 12. Channel 12 is fair. I give them credit.
And there's 3 sides to every story.
But
It's
29
three
and
sides.
5 are pretty much the same people. And they're all owned by Palm Beach Post. So they're all the same folks. But Channel 12 is, they disappeared. But they've always been fair. I can give Channel 12. They've always been fair. If they got it wrong, they'll come back and they'll make a correction. And I can respect that about Channel 12. But when we telling our story, we need to have a firm that can go help push that story out. And it's going to cost us a few dollars to do it. But that's the only way. We tried it the other way, but one firm charges too much money. So we're going to put it out on the street, but it cost us $500,000 the last time. We're going to try to shrink that budget a little bit and see how it works. We're telling all our factual information.
And how like is transparency? Is it something? Because I think a lot of times people get caught up in, well, we didn't know, they're having secret this, they're having secret that. And
let's talk about the secret meeting, right?
Oh, okay. Well,
so,
you brought it up.
So
okay.
Here's the funny part. It's not funny.
It's okay. No.
So
really
I
not.
received a letter from this gentleman in St. Island who actually put his name on it, and a few of us did, and he used the N-word, right, over and over again, right? I'm not going to say that word about my own people, and there was a lot of threat emails and letters that we received. So some folks from St. Island, some folks on the mainland called and said, "Listen, we want to sit with you all and get some information that you can tell." I said, "What do you guys feel comfortable meeting that?" I said, "They said a church." Met. Hubbard called Chief Williams, said, "I need some security based upon I'm not comfortable with the
Especially
threats."
when people having threats, right?
And that's why Chief Williams was really there.
Okay.
He left and came back because he had to go get certain folks because we couldn't be there at the same time. So he made sure that no one was there at the same time. We didn't discuss city business. We just gave our position for those who asked the question. And that's what happened in that meeting. They called it a secret meeting.
Right, but people felt left out. They felt like they were left out on privy information.
But one of the ladies who in the meeting on Singer Island, she came to the mic, who called the meeting, said, "I felt so like I was a part of something wrong." I'm looking at the mic and say, "You called the meeting. But you came and slammed us after you were one of the folks to call the meeting." The lady who's running against my colleague Pardo caroled me and said, "I understand, that makes sense." Left my office and went to Pardo's office and sat there when I heard the conversation. I was a little nosy, I ain't gonna lie. And you can hear the conversation, and she was in agreement with Pardo. Then all of a sudden, Channel 5 pulled to the side, and you had this old crazy election turmoil. We're not in turmoil.
So it looked like things just happened kind of in a way that when people put it, because it's like, okay, you had a secret meeting, then you fired people, and then no one knew.
And they soundbited everything. They cut the video footage and they showed it.
And I know he's retired now. It didn't help that he said he wasn't there.
No, he said I came.
I went.
But the problem is they cut the video. They didn't show the whole conversation.
Right.
And he was explaining to her what was going on.
Right.
So she took the video and cut it up, and it made it look like he was crazy. And I did because it was funny, but it was sad because I knew the interview that he actually gave her, and that wasn't fair to the chief because he was there just to provide protection. That was it. And I was coming because I can handle mine. But Miss Hubbard won't come because of the threat she received. Part of it was called a nigger lover. This happened. I mean, I can search this information. I can give you these documents. These are real factual things.
Well, see, this is why I want to sit down and talk to you, Terrence.
And that's why I feel comfortable.
There's always, again, 3 sides. Yours, theirs, and the truth. And I think for people, especially people who are viewing and people who are going to listen to it later, they're going to get another perception of you. At least I hope. And like I said, I'm not doing this to get any kudos from you. I can't sponsor you. I can't, you're not even running this year, right?
No,
you're up for election.
I just want my people to heal.
Right. And I think that's important.
And I had to find someone, and I can say Michael Bush at Channel 12, he stated that he would do something eventually. But the reason he couldn't do the reason because of shooting in Fort Lauderdale. So his bosses took that story over, the truth about Riviera Beach. But I had to feel comfortable with someone I felt would really tell the story uncut. Because I didn't want to waste none of my time. Because I did this before and it didn't work out, and I saw where they got us. because they didn't just get me a certain way. You know, I saw folks on the other side that were my friends. I saw folks on the other side who children not help. I saw they helped me. You know, it was both ways. I saw. I'm like, wow. You know, where else does it happen where a news reporter sit in on every meeting? They don't do this in other cities now. Just Riviera Beach. They keep a story going that didn't exist, right? Like they talked about our travel. Let's talk about the travel, right?
Okay, let's go ahead.
I want to make sure everybody get all information. This
Hey,
will be any
Ty.
question.
Oh yeah, she said thank you.
Okay, cool.
Thank you
All
for
right.
that, Terrence.
So they talked about our travel expenses. Now they really was coming after me when they pulled a public records request. But what they didn't report is that Councilman Davis, as far as Riviera Beach, had the least amount of travel over the last 6 years. One of the least traveling politicians in all of Palm Beach County. But when I do go, I bring money back. We go to Florida League of Cities Conference. We go to State Tallahassee. We brought $1.5 million back. So if I spent $250 on a hotel room and bring back $1.4 or $5 million, that's an order of doing business. Now, if I stayed in Motel 6, they would create a whole other opinion of it. You get what I mean?
Right.
Then they talked about me staying at the, it wasn't Ritz-Carlton, it was the one of them upscale hotels, but they didn't report was the conference that I was at, the training, rooms was about $60 more a night. So I took something cheaper that just happened to be here because of the conference. Everybody's room rates were extremely high. So I got something cheaper because of the class of the hotel. They made it an issue. But why didn't they report West Palm Beach, Wellington, Palm Beach, and put all their travel expenses on the news?
Yeah. Well, I told you, it sounds like
If
you
you're going to compare with apples and apples, don't just throw something out there and say we're wasting taxpayers' dollars when we bring the money back. I defended even my colleagues, we fight sometimes, I defended them all on that issue. I did defend them all because it's that city seal I protect. They was wrong for the way they addressed our travel. They talked about me having boots, but it was a big Darth Vader suit. I'm doing something here at City Hall for 1,900 kids. I was Darth Vader. I bought some cheap boots for $30-something to fit the suit, and they made that an issue in the news. But I'm doing something for children in our community, right? I wanted them to have a real Darth Vader Star Wars experience, and I had all the characters and the bus, party bus, the movies. The kids enjoy it. I do it every year. I do something crazy for the kids every year. But that wasn't important to tell that side of the story.
What are your regrets? Any regrets?
You know what? I can see there's a lesson in the situation, right? If I had to do a lesson, I would schedule more dates. I would open up some dates from my office, like a whole week, and said, please come in. This is the week I'm here. I would force folks to come in here. The only reason I can do it that way because I can keep the news folks out of our personal conversation.
Speaking of news folks, hey Thomas Forrester.
Oh.
Hey LaShawn. Hey. We haven't been looking at the viewers because I've been kind of paying attention to him. Feel free if you have any questions. He's here. Trust me, take the opportunity because it does not happen often. If you have anything you want to, get off your chest, we want to keep it adult and friendly because, this is, I'm in his office now. We want to respect. Hey, Thomas. You
Hello,
news
Thomas.
people are so funny. Say, you news people, and you pop right up. But
Thomas has been all right with me. He's been helping with the process as far as understanding how media works and resources. He's been good with that.
Okay, so kudos to Thomas Forrester. Hey,
I can give him
Sean.
credit for being fair with that. He has been.
So you would basically, the regrets would be going back to that more of an open door.
I blame Thomas though, because I need a reporter like him here to take this story.
Well,
Thomas, I got to smile about it, Thomas. But I know you'd have did a much better. I'd have felt more comfortable.
If he was
Thomas and Bush have been great reporters. They've been fair. They get something different, they come back and they correct it. And that's all you can ask. If somebody say, tell a story in a real source.
Hey John, hey John Barfield, hey good people.
I saw Lady March on here too. Did she disappear?
I'm not sure. Lady March, if you're there, can you give us some thumbs up?
I don't want my employee being upset with me because I didn't answer one of her questions.
Thomas would have told the truth.
I really believe that. Yes.
So like I said, if you have any questions, so those are really your regrets from.
That's the lesson learned. I would have made a more conservative effort, trying to be creative with getting folks into a private setting. And having those, I tried that with the church, right?
Right. Well, listen, I'm glad you said that because a lot of times people, I would have kind of felt slighted if you would have said I don't have any regrets because I think when it's growth and healing, you're learning, and some things you probably said I could have did. Yeah, I could have did better if I'm honest with myself.
I thought I was doing something right. They said meet at the church, talk to some folks. There's a big room full of people. I'm having a conversation. and half of them came and slammed me. I'm like, wow.
It sounded like that was a setup.
It was a setup. It was. And then one of the more, I used her name. Anyway, the reporter was outside and was doing their thing, right? And if I had to think about it,
much love.
I would ask more questions or find ways I can get the story out. I was trying to find someone that would just tell a story. You know, when lawyers got involved on both sides, it made it extremely difficult, and they took advantage of that opportunity, right? You know, lawyers are not PR people. So if I do it again, I would have went to PR people and sat as a PR person in the room with the lawyer and said, now y'all talk it out. Yeah. But my people need to know
because they say, you know, that rumor said that Terrence Davis mouth, boy. Woo. Now let's talk about that a little bit. Sometimes do you feel like if you could change sometimes like what you said, because you know you get caught up in the moment. I know the meetings get tough.
No, this happened this year.
Okay.
Just this year.
Okay.
Over the last 2 years previous to now, we've had some really good meetings. I'm gonna be honest. Listen, you notice they haven't been on the news. We've had some really good meetings up until this gentleman showed up. I said it wasn't in chaos. We were fine. Right. You know, they said, oh, he's reporting, he's turning you guys in. He was telling things that he was guessing. You know, they were shooting at me. They accused us of everything. And then they got tired of accusing me. They accused the attorney. They didn't accuse the attorney. They accused the clerk. They went from my clerk to the county clerk. Went from the clerk, then they accused the judge. Well, who is it? Now back to my mouth.
Back to your mouth.
I am passionate about my people.
I believe the reporter reported the truth. Some folks lie and said they weren't at the church, but clearly they were there. So,
well, you know, I can't speak for everybody,
right?
But I can tell you that there was the interview had more conversation. During the editing of the interview, you got those sound bites, right? He did come and went because he had to go get Councilperson Hubbard from home because she didn't feel comfortable driving with the threats. He left, picked her up, and came back.
And we only saw.
And so when he said I came and went, but in the interview he explained that.
You didn't see me there. I came and went. Yeah.
But he had to go get her because she wasn't comfortable coming to that meeting, knowing there was folks from mainland and Sing Island with the fact that we was getting those threats. Now, believe me, I don't like fighting, but when it comes to my people, I'm serious about it. I saw someone come in this city, put our city in threat. And I saw folks that I consider family, because they're all from Riviera Beach, whether I knew them or not. At no point, it really hurts to see your folks go through what they was going through. You know, and I'm trying to figure, how do you get your arms? It was inhumane for me. It was nothing I can do other than pray about the situation. But I was frustrated. I'm like, wow, man, my people are fighting. But we just saved a whole lot of people's jobs. We saved a lot of lives with the water issue. I stated this, but every time I tell the truth, it didn't get reported. So by the time it was time to talk, both lawyers said clank. And that's what really hurt. You know, the fact that I got friends on the board I was fighting with, arguing with, disagreeing with. I'm like, wow, man, just a year ago, man, we was all doing everything together, and how did it come to this? You know.
So Desiree says, if I can remember correctly, Evans didn't lawyer up until weeks later. The residents wanted answers immediately after
he did lawyer up. It just wasn't reported. He did.
Okay.
Yeah, he did lawyer up. They refused to report this information, and that's the problem. See, they reported when they were good at what they did. I give them credit. They did their thing, and it was sad that it was a negative issue, right? But they didn't report that all these other cities, Town of Palm Beach, when they fired their city manager and escorted him, he came on vacation. Folks is there arguing, fighting, fussing. They didn't report none of that stuff on the news. Why? What's the difference between Riviera Beach and South Beach? Think about it, right? Then they hired one of their public safety office as the interim city manager with no turmoil. They already fired about 4 city managers. They hired their public safety officer. That's interim, right?
I'll answer the question in a minute.
Jupiter did the same thing. Hired their public safety officer. Interim. Now, at no point did Chief Williams ask to be our interim city manager. At no point. But we was going down a list of qualified folks in our staff, and unfortunately, there's some folks that was either afraid or upset for previous issues, whether you agree with them or not. All I want was somebody to have some leadership, and Karen is doing, I think, a wonderful job with her 29 years because she understands it.
One time,
just I gotta give her credit. Buddy. I mean, she's not shaking the tree, but she's making sure the plane is on autopilot. She's hitting the right buttons, and the plane, when it's time to land, it's going to land.
Was there someone that you was just trying to? Because that was a rumor too. You were trying to throw in there one night. Another city manager?
Yeah, I was throwing apples and oranges on the wall. I got what I need.
Listen, we keep it real here. We
got Karen Hoskins.
Okay.
All right.
Well, we gonna. Okay.
Karen Hoskins.
So LaShawn wants to know. So from this point forward, can we count on you being more transparent? That's what I was going to ask you too. Going forward, okay, we can't go back and rewind and put up the past. What's the intent? What's your intent?
Going forward, I will continue to fight for this city.
Mm-hmm.
I will continue to do the things up until now. Up until now, there's never been an issue. But I will be more transparent to answer her question. I will not beat around that question. Yes, ma'am.
And Desiree said Karen should stay as city manager. Now, that's if Karen wants to, because I remember Karen told me at first it was 90 days.
Listen.
I know you. And maybe she changed her mind, because sometimes people are they change
here's
their
something
mind.
that Karen's going, Ms. Hoskins going, I'm going to give her respect. She's going through. She's doing a wonderful job. But now that she's in the driver's seat, she see the garbage that's going on.
Well, that's all.
Because,
like presidents.
Right,
they can change the world until they become president.
Right. And so the news is sedating us, all these public records requests, all the text, all this stuff that I'm like, I'm giving you everything you want. But our staff is stopping normal city business to deal with this. And we get all these piles and boxes, all these public records requests that no other city get but us. And they want it in a certain amount of time. But we still got other stuff we got to do. When the power went out during the hurricane, all that stuff going on, and we still addressing hurricane issues with power across the city. Our legal office must go what? Over those documents. So we're going to stop these issues with FP&L to give them what they want right away. Think about it, we still recovering from the hurricane. Folks don't know it, but we are. We drive down, look outside how dark it is right now.
I think me and Masters chimed in. I'm not sure if he's still there. Also, hey Jennifer. Hey Larry Green. Okay, so Thomas Forrester says
city manager.
Yeah.
What Lady March said? She said, "Oh, okay."
I don't know if Lady March, if you're still there, please give us some thumbs up. I don't know if you had a question or concern. It says, TD, all the cities gave reasons up front why they're fired their city manager. So,
like I said, I gave a reason, but it wasn't reported.
Okay. Anita Hester.
Hey, Miss Hester, how you doing?
Hey, TD.
Charles Lewis. Lady Marsh, she was asking the question. I want to make sure, because I don't have to get jacked up and sit at home. She don't play.
So I did not tell you the time go by?
Let's do it.
Okay, because I know that I was going to...
We still got about 5 minutes.
Yeah,
right?
about 10 minutes. Okay, listen. So I wanted to talk about, we were talking about Black Panther. For people that saw Black Panther, they probably know the line. I'm not going to say the line exactly correct. But it was along the line, when you have heart, when you have some goodness, it's hard to be a leader. Yeah. Because you kind of feel for people, but then you got to do things that's not going to sit well with everybody. You're not going to please everybody. Yeah. So when we're talking about Black Panther, you mentioned something special that you're doing. Can you talk about that real quick?
Yeah, I can talk about it.
Okay.
Upcoming soon, I will be taking 150 students.
150.
150.
150.
We'll be partnering with the radio station.
Okay.
And we'll be taking these kids to see Black Panther. And we'll be taking some of the parents as well, because some of the parents, I encourage them to come as well. Because everybody, I want to make sure it's a family event.
Okay.
So I'm partnering with X102.3, with the new DJ Lachey. So she just knew she's been about 4 months.
Okay.
So we're going to be doing it upcoming soon.
That's awesome.
Hey,
Ted White.
How you doing, sir?
All the news people joining us. Oh, man. Uh-oh. But anyway, okay. So we covered this. Do you have anything, because I know, like I said, we're running out of time.
Absolutely. Anything
else that you want to kind of wrap up? Like a final note, because one thing about, I love live videos, that you can come back and you can ask them questions over and over again, and you'll be able to, answer the questions for the viewers. Okay. Yeah, it's easy. Okay. It's easy. Hey,
now,
Rob.
I'm not that
hey,
technical savvy. I'm learning.
Oh, okay. Well, we need to get you better.
I just need some time to sit down and do that stuff.
Okay. But anything like, as a wrap up.
Yes.
A final note where you want to kind of just lead people. And
one thing I say to you, first of all, I say thank you for taking the time out your day.
And thank you.
Over here to 600 West Blue Hand Reveal Beach. We always love to hear. I'd like to say thank you to everyone who chimed in. Thank you for those who asked the tough questions. And the only thing I can ask you to do is just trust one thing about me. In the intent of everything, my passion for this community, I would be wrong for one thing, not doing one thing. That's not giving me everything I have, right? I may make some mistakes, but you can never not learn from them. I love my community. I love my people. I love all of them. Every last one. Through this whole experience, I love them all. This city has some great things getting ready to happen. Over the next 2 years, you're going to have $500 million of economic development construction getting ready to take place. I would like to see, make sure that we get as many folks working, changing their financial lives as possible. We have some great things getting ready to happen on Riviera Beach with our marina development. We got our youth program that's getting ready to come up. I'm getting ready to start back this spring break on Good Friday. Miss Dion Cunningham years ago, Michael Brown had brought this initiative where he took all the kids to Peanut Island. So we're going to do Miss Cunningham, on the honor of Miss Cunningham and Mr. Wilson. On Good Friday this year, we're going to take 1,000 kids over to Peanut Island. We're going to do scavenger hunting. We're going to do water sport games.
I saw you giving away turkeys, and I was laughing because I said, well, why don't we hear about this stuff?
I ain't going to do that, but I want to make sure that you all know. And matter of fact, you can call my office because we're going to need some volunteers. We're going to spend your Good Friday on Peanut Island with the kids. Please call my office at 561-707-5906. But I got something for you, though.
Okay.
Oh.
You got something for me? Oh, listen. I
have something. My English teacher taught me a little bit.
Oh, you have something.
So, as you can see, this is a Black History T-shirt from the Office of Councilman Davis.
Thank you. I get gifts. Listen, this is the first.
I'm going to give you 2 shirts. You have a wonderful husband.
Okay.
I don't want him trying to squeeze on your shirt.
Lord Jesus, don't do
and
that.
That's your shirt. And,
Thank you.
I want to make sure that I give you a nice gift.
I'm born and raised in Riviera Beach and tired of seeing this man in the news. Let's get on one accord and move the city. Thank you, Desiree. See,
one love.
When we think like that,
one love.
And this is again why I wanted to sit down with him, because everything can change. I believe that. I believe that things are changeable. I think when people's mindset changes, it kind of like you get in line with the universe. You know, things start working positively. If you go to a meeting and you're just negative and you want to sit down and you want to just bash him for everything that he may have done or not done or whatever, you're not going to move forward.
Or any of my colleagues.
Right,
you know?
Right. And I haven't sat down with them, so I didn't get their side of the story.
Yeah.
But I think this has been enlightening for me. I'm walking away feeling like I know you a little more now. I'm walking away, and I mean literally, like I feel, and you know, I might get bashed for it too. I really don't care, but I feel the sincerity. Like I'm a great discerner in spirits, and I believe that you were telling the truth. I think you may have done things that probably might not have been a protocol, but it was the intent.
I got to learn.
The intent was not malicious. And I think that's what we have to learn from too. But see, you're not even running, so I'm glad you're doing good. See, because a lot of times people start doing great things when their time is up. You're not up until what? Next year.
But the crazy part is, you know, by the time my election year come out, this is not going my potentially third term if I decide to run again. I'll be tired because, you know, between my church ministry, taking care of family, I enjoy my time with family, and City Hall and coaching track and field with the kids at Suncoast High School. My girls. Shout out,
oh wow, okay.
Yeah, we got a good girls track and field team. We don't play at Suncoast High School.
Suncoast, great school.
So, Suncoast Chargers. You know, I'm a Palm Beach Gardens Gators. I love you all as well. And Palm Beach Lakes and Inlet Grove. We got to make sure we show love to all of our kids in our community in JFK Middle School. I think that's so important. But thank you for choosing Riviera Beach so much, Miss Kitty.
No problem.
Giving me the opportunity to take a moment and really just have a conversation. And if there's anything else you would like to talk about in the future, I would love to sit down and share some more time with you.
Okay.
But we do have some great things that are coming up, and I would like to definitely run some of this information by you. So
definitely.
We can talk about the good news and even if we just do it once a quarter.
And you know, the thing about it is, I know I'm West Palm Beach, but we're all Palm Beach County, and everything that affects, you know, Riviera Beach affects us too, because we have friends and family and colleagues that live here.
But think about this, right? So in Palm Beach years ago, many years ago, when the blacks owned all the land in Palm Beach, when they ran the folks out of Palm Beach, they landed in West Palm Beach. When they started developing West Palm Beach, where did they land? Riviera Beach. Riviera Beach was created because of the economic boom in West Palm and how some of the blacks were disenfranchised. And they got moved to what they call the sticks, which is in Riviera Beach. And that's your black history, you know, on how we are so connected between West Palm and Riviera. When I hear folks saying, well, I live in West Palm, listen, you're my brother, you're my sister. And in America today, we all what? Even if we're black, we all struggle. Woman, man, we struggle. And right now, where things are, no matter what color you are, if you're a hard-working person and you really believe in God and really believe what you do, and you don't have the money, guess what? We all struggle, right? So if you understand that the person next to you struggling, you should give them that much more love. And that's what's so important. Understanding that we all struggle. And that's why folks are sometimes angry. They're not necessarily angry with so many times with their with you. It's about something we all going through at that moment. And the timing of everything, and everyone just lashes out.
Right, and you represent. I mean, that's just like when you call a company, like Allstate or Comcast, they're not mad at the representative necessarily, but you're mad at the company. You're mad at the the body.
And so they get it.
Right, and you get it.
I get it. And I understand it. I believe me, I understand it. I had one gray hair that should have came.
So, but it comes with the territory, and you have to be, you have to be thick-skinned. You sound like this is not your first go round.
Listen, but this was 6 months. This was 6 months of an experience that I knew someday that may come, but I didn't understand how and why and when it was going to come. And I do believe through this whole experience, I think we all should grow, and there's an undercover benefit from it. That the fact that people are actually paying attention to their own community now. So the question is now, what are we going to do to make our city that much better?
Right. So you have to change the city in turmoil to city in turnaround.
Turnaround, right? Exactly.
Yeah, so that's your new campaign.
Right. And Career Beach works, right? So what are we going to do? I don't say you, but we to make it better, to improve. So when you come to the meeting, you see somebody that keep coming to the mic talking negative, say, hey, what are you doing?
And that's true. And people don't understand when you think about the word community. There's that little word unity in the community. So again, I thank you for sitting down. I think for the platform for being respected. Everybody who chimed in, I'm sure that you had your opinions, but I'm glad that everybody remained respectful. We didn't have any craziness, and like I said, look back at the video if you did miss the video. Hey, thumbs up. If you did miss the video, we talked about pretty much anything from past to present, so that'll keep you up in speed. But I think Terrence Davis is
give a shout out to my sister, Ms. Williams. She just chimed in. Let's give her a shout out.
Oh, okay. Well, you shout. Hey, Ms. Williams. So we're gonna.
Avion, how you doing?
Well,
is that Danny Snow?
Yes.
How you doing, Mr. Snow?
Yes. So, like I said, you're gonna have to come back at this video, and people, I'm sure, like I said, when they get home, they're gonna look at the video later. And I just pray, and I'm not gonna say hope because I'm putting God in it. I just pray that from this day forward, which is March 1st, 2018, it's a difference. They look at you differently for the ones that thought differently.
Thank you for your prayers, and I pray for your safe travels, and thank you for choosing Revere Beach.
All right, so we're gonna end the show, but thank you for joining People of Power. Next up, bless my brother. Next up, in about 45 minutes, you'll see me with Mr. Raylo. Yeah, he's Raylo. Them damn dogs.
That's my man.
Oh yeah,
Tell him I said.
He's very controversial too.
No, don't worry about it.
But no, it's good. I love it.
He love the kids though.
Hey, look at Tommy Sports that says big CD. Right. Hey, Mark Mitchell, kitty. But yeah, so next up is will be hey, Frog is saying my brother. Hey,
that young
one time
man,
for
his wife got a wonderful business.
Yeah, Styles by Stallings. They did my wedding. So one time for Styles by Stallings.
Thanks, Desiree.
Thank you, Desiree, for keeping it adult and classy. Yes, woman of my liking, because we can.
She 100.
We know.
All their lives.
All right, so we're gonna end the video. I gotta take down this stuff, but yeah, you're gonna see me in about another 45 minutes. I'm gonna be sitting down with Mr. Raylo from Them Damn Dogs. People of Power, where I highlight movers, shakers, CEOs, and people who are doing big things. And this is Mr.
And go see Black Panther.
Yes.
Take someone. Take your neighbor's kids. Take someone. Take bad little Johnny, good little Johnny, little Dora, whoever it is in the neighborhood. Let's take them with you. It's worth it. Invest in our kids.
That's right. All right. See ya.